What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and in today's video, I'm gonna talk about whether you should renovate and then use the property as a rental, or if you should just buy turnkey. I'm also gonna talk about some great ways to add huge value to property to make sure you get your numbers where they need to be so it ends up being a great investment. So with all of that being said, let's jump into it. Also, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell. It also helps the algorithm if you leave a comment. So if you've got any questions, make sure you let me know in the comments. All right, guys, for those of you that are new to the channel, my name's Chandler Smith, and I've been investing in real estate for the last 7 years. I currently own 99 units of rental real estate, and I've had the opportunity to try it all. I've purchased turnkey properties, I've purchased properties with little renovations, I've purchased properties that didn't need renovations, they just needed rent raised, and I've purchased properties that had huge renovations where we had to rip everything out and start fresh. And so in this video, I'm gonna help you to decide whether you should invest in something that requires a renovation and then rent it, or if you should invest in something that's turnkey. I'm also gonna talk about what you can do to add huge value to property to not only increase your net worth and add instant equity into the property, but also increase rents so that you can get huge returns and a great cash flow. So the first thing I want to talk about is this question of, Chandler, should I renovate or should I buy turnkey? And surprisingly, this is a question I get asked a ton. And I think the biggest reason people are asking is they see a lot of investors that have done both. And they see that the more that an investor invests, they start to take on a lot more renovations. Now, there is a reason behind this, and here's the deal. If you can find something that's turnkey and yields the return you want, I would say do that all day, every day. Now, this is actually a question that I get asked a ton, and I think the biggest reason people ask is they see a lot of real estate investors taking on a lot of renovations, and that's intimidating to them, but they're thinking, hey, if they're doing it, that must be what I need to do to be successful in investing in real estate. And the truth is that answer is kind of right, and here's why. Experienced investors know that the more you can do to add value to a property, that ups your odds of being able to find a property that then you can get up to your desired return. What I mean by that is it's really hard to find a property that's getting a 15 or 20% cash on cash return that is just turnkey. Now, does it happen? 100%. And so when people come and they say, Chandler, for my first investment, should I do something that's turnkey or should I do something that requires a renovation? I would say, look, if you can find something where your numbers work and you're getting your desired returns with a turnkey investment property, then jump all over that. There's not an experienced investor in the world that if they see an incredible deal that is turnkey and it's gonna yield the result that they want and the return that they want, there's no way they're ever going to pass up on that. They're gonna jump all over it. The problem is those are pretty difficult to find. So you'll see that experienced investors, the more that they start buying property, the more that they have a hard time creating deal flow. Now, deal flow is something that if you're just investing in one property per year, usually if you've got a year to look, you can find something that's essentially turnkey that yields your desired return. But if you get to the point where you're scaling, where I am now in my business, where one property a year would not get anywhere close to the kind of scaling I'm wanting to do, you need to find other ways to get that desired return. And the only way you can do that is by adding value to property. So if you're a first-time investor and you've got an opportunity to find a turnkey property, all day, every day, that should be your first investment. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be your first investment, but if there is one of those available, you shouldn't look anywhere else and you should jump all over it. Because if it's turnkey and it gets the return you want, that is incredible. Where you run into problems is a lot of times that deal is hard to find. That kind of brings you to the next step, which is finding a property that is just undervalued because rents are low. Now, this is one of my favorite ways to find a deal because a lot of beginning investors or even experienced investors are only looking for something that's turnkey Or they're looking for something where they say rents are here, but if I do this renovation, then I can get rents to here. What they're not looking for is a property where you can just go in and say, hey, this is a great property, it's clean, it's rented out at $500 per unit, but I know in the state it's in, it could yield $700 a unit. This is the deal that I love because a lot of people pass over it because they'll see it on the MLS and they'll say, oh, those numbers don't work. But I can look at it and say, hey, I can make those numbers work without doing anything in renovations purely because I'm going to raise rents. So first thing you should buy if it's available, turnkey. Second thing you should look for is a property that doesn't need any renovations but's undervalued and you can just raise rents to add value. Now, if you can't find a deal doing either of these, that's when you transition into doing a deal that requires renovations. And what I suggest for beginner investors is start with little renovation properties. Something like just replacing the flooring and adding paint, or just little tweaks you can do to increase the value to where people will say, hey, that would have been rented at $500, but now I'll pay $700 because this is a quality place. Now, obviously your numbers have to work, and I talk about renovations in this video where you can see exactly how I run the numbers to determine if a renovation is something that would be worth it so that I can get my desired return. However, the big thing I want to hit on in this video is don't do renovations unless you have to, especially if you're starting out as a new real estate investor. If you can find something that's turnkey that gets you the return you want, then jump all over it. If you can find something where just raising rents gets you where you want, then jump all over it. And if you can find something with minor renovations, again, that might be a great option. But what I see a lot of investors do where they shoot themselves in the foot is there's a lot of work and time that goes into understanding how to do bigger renovations. But a new investor will jump in and find a property that is just total trash, something that needs tons of money in renovations. And they'll say, oh, I'm gonna jump all over this because it's a good deal. Now, this is where people get burned, because if you're buying something because it's under market value, if it would have been in good shape, then that doesn't mean it's going to be a great deal after you've put all of the renovations into it. If you've got money and you're wanting to start investing in real estate, I would always say stay away from the big renovations. The renovations where you're ripping everything out, you're replacing electrical, you're replacing plumbing, you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I think that is something that should never be your first investment property. Now, if that is your skill set or your family's skill set and you're really good at it and you have the experience and you know your costs will come in exactly where they need to come in, and then you know it's a great deal, then awesome, jump all over it. I'm not saying that's a bad investment if that's your scenario. What I am saying is a lot of newbie investors will look at a property and say, oh, I bet I could renovate that with 10 grand and I could totally get the rents to here and then it's gonna be an awesome return. And 50 grand later and 9 months later, they still don't have the property finished. They haven't made any money. They've spent a lot of money and they know even if they do finish it, that it's not gonna get the return they wanted, so they would have been better off buying a bad return turnkey property without all of that stress because they would have gotten the same return. So when looking at properties and trying to decide, especially as a beginner investor, whether you should do renovations or buy turnkey, if you can find something that doesn't have all that extra work and your numbers work, please try and find that first. And I promise you, in any market, you can find something where at least you can see it's undervalued in rents. Now, if you don't know how to analyze a market or understand rents, or you don't know what numbers you're looking for, make sure you click the link below and purchase my brand new course. Now, I have put tons of time into this 7-hour plus course. I show you everything you need to know to be able to run the numbers, analyze your market, and get into that first investment property. And if you click the link now, I've included a coupon code where you can get $50 off the course. Now, if you don't want to pay for a course, that is awesome. Go and hit this link, and it's going to show you all of the basic information you need to be able to start investing in real estate. Now, I've tried to include everything I can in all of my YouTube videos. However, the course just breaks things down perfectly in 7 hours worth of incredible content to make sure you don't make any wrong steps in getting into that first property. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell so you catch my future videos, because my goal, as always, is to help you to build a huge passive income. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.